Hey everybody, got another video here for you. So, working on the Aero 6, the leg bar was cut off at an angle so it matched the body, and then it went into the paint shop, and now it's out of the paint shop, all nice and dry, and it's time to put it back together. So this thing has been sitting around waiting for a number of months, waiting for me to finish up the Aero 4, which I've just about done now. And so the first thing I did was I tuned it back up and I loosened up the claw ever so slightly, and it's all nice and level and in tune and stuff. I'm letting the strings stretch some. And the next step is the electronics. I've got the kill button and the bass blend and the bass on off and the master on off and the jack, all of them in black. Yeah, you pay like about twice as much for black, maybe even 3 times. And then it's got the Invader style pickup system. And there's the bridge humbucker. And then I'm going to use a Vohm in order to figure out whether the middle or the neck is going to be hottest. Probably the middle will, but yeah, I'll check that out, and then I'll use the hottest of the two here at the bass pickup position. And now it's time to install all these electronics. I'll probably start with the pickups, actually figuring out which of these to use. Well, looks like the neck pickup is actually hotter at 5.51 versus 5.28, so I'll use this one. So it looks like the bridge here is going to need about 4 mil of shim in order to give clearance for this wire here. So I'm going to need to make like 4 pieces of 2 mil shim this big and glue 2 there and 2 there to get my 4 mil of shim so that wire will clear. On the bass pickup, it's got this nice flat magnet, and all the wires and stuff are above that, so this will mount flush to the body, no problem. No spacers required, I don't think. I've test fitted it a couple times and checked for what the action is when you're fretting at the 24th, and everything looks good on both of them actually. So I'm going to need to cut some pickguard material, and that means it's time to set up my new mini table saw, because the one I had was it was your typical like $60 unit belt drive, and it's just not quite powerful enough. The belt drive gives out too easily, so time for unpacking the new saw. So here's the new saw, and this is all the stuff that comes with it. And as you can see, it looks an awful lot like the old saw. But the big thing that's different about this saw is that the motor inside is more powerful, first off, and it's also a direct drive, no belt. And it also has two motors in it, and one of them drives the saw, and the other one drives the drill bit or grinder attachment part. And it comes with a chuck and a grinding stone, or you can put on a flex cable attachment, and then it's got like sanding pads and buffing pads and stuff like that for the flex attachment. And it's also got all this grinder stuff for the flex attachment. So it's sort of this one here, it's sort of a mini table saw and a Dremel all kind of built in one, a Dremel station. And it's got all the normal table saw stuff too. It's got, your guide and your fence and wrenches and some drill bits and stuff and some blades. It's got a carbide blade. This looks to be a diamond tile cut blade. And there's your coarse blade for doing wood. And then it's already got this blade in it. It's just cranked down real low. It might not be sticking out quite enough in order to cut 2 mil material, but I can always adjust it if need be. But the big thing about it is that it's got a larger direct drive motor for the blade. So this thing shouldn't stall out when trying to cut like 2 mil material the way this thing sometimes does. The first one I had of these, it lasted, a year or more maybe, but then eventually it caught something too hard and it messed up the belt drive. And then ever since then, that unit, if it caught it the wrong way at the bad spot on the belt, it would stop turning. And so I got this as a replacement, and this one didn't even last a year before the same thing happened. So now I've got a direct drive mini table saw, and hopefully that'll be the end of any issues. And this apparently is just a nicer version of the same basic unit. They both have all the same holes cut out. The other one doesn't have the second motor installed in it, so it doesn't have the second power switch or the output shaft for the drill bit part. It's just got the one power switch on it. But yeah, otherwise, the boxes are the same and everything like that. But this one's got the direct drive, more powerful motor in it, so that's the big thing. Okay, with the pickups glued on, I was able to turn it over here and mark, yeah, there you go, that Sharpie mark there and there, that's where, how far down along the channel the holes need to be for these wires here and here. I was thinking maybe put these guys in a bit of shrink wrap if I can find a piece right size long enough in order to give it a cleaner look, some black shrink wrap. But yeah, so that's next, is I've marked out the channel where the holes are going to have to go. And so it's time to punch and drill those. So the plan is to punch the marks from the back and come in from the back with a pilot hole drill bit. And that'll get me 2 little pilot holes coming out the front, wherever they end up being. And that lets me come in from the front with the brad point to avoid tear out on the front. And any tear out that I get in the channel doesn't really matter because it's going to be covered by a plate. And there are my 2 marks. One's right there, and the other one is right there. Okay, I ordered up some 4mm and some 5mm heat shrink tubing rolls. I probably got the stuff in the short pieces, but not long enough to reach all the way to that hole. So that'll be here in a couple days, and that'll help clean that look up. And I doubt I'm going to get to wiring this stuff before it shows, so not a problem. I'll just leave these hanging here for now. Time to put in the rest of the stuff, like the kill button and the rest of the electronics. Well, it looks like the channel isn't deep enough here for the mini toggle switches. It should be about 16 millimeters deep, and it's only about 11 and a half, so I'm going to have to come in with the router and deepen this up a little bit. couple of very thin passes and measure all the time. Continuous measuring. Make sure I don't go too deep. Okay, got all the controls installed. The pot's in, got both of the on-off switches on, and the jack is in, but it's not glued in so that I can spin it around and get at the various lugs to wire it up, and then glue it in once I got the wires connected. And now it's time to get these guys covered with some heat shrink in order to clean up the look when they're being routed over here to where they go through to the back of the guitar. Now you got to remember that everything from this part of the neck all the way down here to the width of the pickup, all that's going to be covered by the depth pick guard, so you won't see any of that part of the wire. You'll just see a little bit right here, but I'm going to sheath it all the way and try to get as perfect a fit as possible. Okay, it's time to start wiring this thing up. And the first step's going to be the ground wire, common negative bus that runs all the way from the claw down under the cover, and then all the way down the channel, and it connects to this switch. And then it also goes on and connects to the jack. And the grounds for both pickups connect to it. And so I got a piece of 4 conductor and stripped off the outer part, took the black wire out of it, and stripped all the insulation off of the black wire, and that's going to be the ground bus. So the first step is to solder it up to the claw. Okay, just finished wiring up the negative bus here, negative bus wire. Forgot to turn the camera on, sorry. But yeah, so the negative bus wire is wired to the claw now, and that'll ground out strings and the bridge and stuff like that. Then it's just going to come all the way down here. And let's see. There's a negative wire connects to the master on off. And then the ground also connects to the long jack on, or the long lug on the jack, which is right there. So, but I'm going to wire that one up last, solder that one up last. So, and then all the rest of this stuff, here, let's see, we've got the kill button. So this ground will get connected to the bus. And one of these two wires, I guess, I don't know, I'll have to look it up. Probably white is ground. You know how it is. They're always backwards. So that'll get connected to the bus. And this guy right here, this green with the ground wire, also gets connected to the bus. And I'll probably want to do that stuff up here. That way it doesn't like get in the way of the switches and stuff. So I'm thinking that in order to cut down on the amount of cables going on here, that I should take like the ground for the kill button and hook it up to the negative bus, like maybe right there. So I've only got that much wire that I'm dealing with. Just this little bit right here. And yeah, I know you can't really see. Okay, so how about zoom? And up a little bit. Right, so ground wire comes down from claw. It's going to go into the channel and on down to the jack. And this is going to be like the wire that starts at this end of the guitar, starting from top to bottom, wiring up all the negatives. You know, I can just wire this thing like right there, and I don't have to deal with any of this. And there's just this going down there instead of all this stuff. So yeah, if I do that and then take the ground for the bridge and hook it up, you know, like 10 millimeters or 13 millimeters or a half inch further down the negative bus, and that takes care of that wire. Those two are hot wires. And this guy here, I can actually strip it back to somewhere like here and take the coil splits and in them right there and wire them together and heat shield them. And the negative I can just end right about here and wire it up right there. And then all I've got left is the one single hot wire, that's black wire actually, I think it is, that's going on down here to hook up with the other stuff on the positive side, which would be like these two guys, and they all get connected to the master on-off switch here. So yeah, let me zoom back out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire things up to the negative bus as far up in this direction as I can, pretty much. It does mean I have to do an awful lot of stripping of wires on this thing, but that's not that bad. A lighter and a razor blade, and just be careful while you're doing it to not cut through one of your actual conductors. And so, yeah, I'm going to take that approach, and it ought to end up with a much cleaner install, because you basically just have a couple hot wires coming down and then your negative bus. So the very first step is going to be to take a piece of tape and tape down this end of the negative bus, where it's going to end up being underneath the panel, the back plate for this thing. And that way I can make sure that this is more or less where the thing is going to be once it's all put together. And I can get these connected to it at the right positions, not too far forward one way or the other. And for each one of these, it's going to be the same process. Just take whatever it is that you're going to wire up to the negative bus and cut it to length, and then strip it, and then twist it up, and then twist it around the bus once or twice, just so it doesn't, just to hold it together while you solder it, and then go ahead and make the solder connection. And then you just go down the line and do all of them, and that's all there is to it. Start by taking this one, do it about there. And then we've stripped it. And that takes care of the ground for the kill button. And now I just have to do all the rest. Same idea. There'll be a little bit of stripping of this guy before I can get the black one loose somewhere down here and cut it back and strip it and do the same thing. But yeah, that's all the same thing as that. So, taking a look at the docks that came with the pickup set that I'm using, they give you the IDs, basically, just the IDs for a 3 single coil set, even though it's HSS, that the actual set of pickups is an HSS set. So they're IDing the different pickups by the color of a wire, and all of them are using black. So I'm going to assume that black is what they're using for the ground, and then the colored wire, whatever color, is one of the 3 hot wires, depending on the position, neck or bridge or whatever. So yeah, I'm going to assume that black is negative. It technically doesn't really matter that much, I don't think. Um, I mean, if the stuff is like out of phase or something, you're going to get a kind of serious trouble drop, and then you can just swap the wires. So I'm going to assume that black is the negative, and then the humbucker here is your standard 4-wire with a ground, so that's pretty easy to figure out. Whatever isn't the ground, that's hot. In this case, it's black. So the green and unshielded is going to be the ground on the humbucker, and for the other ones, it looks like, well, I'm going to wire it up so black is the ground. So take the black wire for the pickup, and I'm going to hook it up about there. So cut it off about here. Leave a little bit extra so I can wrap it around. And that's going to be the next thing to hook up. And there it is, all hooked up. And that takes care of the base pickup ground. Okay, I stripped all the sheathing off of this lead coming off of the humbucker, and split it up into the hot wire, the ground wires, and the split wires. And as you can see, the hot wire is going to go on down this direction, but the ground's going to get connected right about there probably. And then these guys here, I can just, cut them off at about that length, strip them back, twist them together, and put some heat shrink on it. And they don't even have to go down near where the pot and the switches and stuff are. So that's the next little bit, is get these ground wires connected right about there. Well, I think that's going to do it for this one. So until the next one, everybody, have a good one.